What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in. A little bit behind schedule, but it's all good because it's gonna be worth it. You know, this brother right here, he's a beast. We're so grateful, so honored, so humbled to have James Kocian as a guest for this month's Sinkhole. What's up, James? What's going on?
Oh, Terrell. Hey, gang.
Hey,
It's great to have you, man.
Thank you.
Definitely Grammy award winning James
Oh,
Kocian. By
man.
the way, yeah, you know he's a humble dude, so he doesn't really like all the hoopla. But first of all, I want to go on record and apologize for when we first met. I don't know if you remember this, James. We first met in person at the Road Rally in 2022. So I had interacted with James before on Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days, right? I had interacted with James briefly. So the picture on X is very, very small. And James's picture, he's looking down and he has a hat on.
Right.
So I'm casually walking through the in-person rally. This is the first one back in person because of COVID. I'm walking down I think about the elevator and I hear, hey man, what's up? And I look at James, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And I'm like, who's this dude? And he's like, it's like that, huh? I'm like, then I put two and two together. Oh, this is the dude from Twitter. Like, I had known the name James Kocian. He's a veteran taxi member. I had known the name, never interacted, so I didn't know that the dude that was saying hi was him. Honestly. So, James, I wanted to apologize publicly, man. That was a hilarious first encounter, man.
You're like, man, who is this crazy guy? I don't have time for my fans right now, people. I'm really up in my room.
And you know me because I'm not even on that tip. I just didn't really know because people at the rally say hey, hi, bye all the time. So I just thought it was that. No. But we had interacted on Twitter.
No, 2022, you were blowing up. And hey, Terrell, and you're like, I just need a break from just catch me in an hour. Okay.
Oh, did I go up? Oh, I think it went up. My bad. But yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Yeah. Sorry. Are we good?
Yeah. I'm good.
Audio, I don't know my headphones. So yeah, I wasn't. No, it wasn't like that, man. I just really didn't know because this before Facebook, before the retreat. So I hadn't really had any interaction with you in person. So I really didn't know how you look.
Yeah, to be fair, the profile is like a hat, like down. Right. I mean, you're right. I mean, I can do a little better.
Yeah. So that's out of the way. I just wanted to publicly apologize for that. But so that's just kind of who James is. So he's a friend in the room. But I want to know, and our guests want to know, man. Like, so I kind of know a bit of it. But like, what's your story, man? Like, how did you get your start as a songwriter, artist, producer, all that?
So, I mean, right, probably a lot like many of us. You've been doing it my whole life, kind of musical family, raised. I started on the piano, and I was so bad. There was a song that I could never play called Fred. I have a dog, and his name is Fred. I could never get that interval. Is Fred. I couldn't get it. And I practiced, and I couldn't get it. And finally, my teacher, Fran, she told my mom and dad, he'll never play the piano. Like, he's not a piano player. And I was crushed, man. I was a kid. So my rhythmic family. So then I moved to the drums, and drums was my thing. My aspiration in life was to be a studio drummer. It's what I did throughout high school. Got a scholarship, playing music, doing drum stuff. And I got back into the piano just doing songwriting. So I went down to the family piano, started like writing out the notes because I couldn't read the music, and I would like write the C and the D, and I just literally started putting in thousands and thousands of hours learning chords, learning inversions, listening to music, and then it just kind of took off from there in songwriting. Wasn't really a great student, honestly. Even, in college, didn't finish college. And I was just doing music, man. I was like super creative, and, professors, they're not really keen on like taking suggestions about their syllabus, which to me, I didn't know. Like, I just was a stupid kid. Like, there might be a more creative way to do this, right? So I didn't do well. I didn't do well in college, and I was like working at a music store, and I got connected with a NFL player that played for the Green Bay Packers at the time. And back in the late 90s, the NFL used to do this thing where they would have players that had musical talent, and then they would connect with people in the music industry, and they would do a album together or do a single. And so this guy, his name is Robert Brooks, he chose me to be his musical artist. And it was amazing. We did an album in 97. The Packers were in the Super Bowl, and then we went out to the Super Bowl, and I performed at the NFL Players Inc. party. And I was like, man, he had a little record company. I was like, man, this must be it, right? And it was great. And he's still a great friend of mine, but nothing really materialized after that. It was always just like, I think my career is always the bridesmaid, never the bride, I think is probably a really good way to describe it. And back when Taxi first started, one of the founders, Michael Lederer, I don't know how I got connected with him through Michael Anderson. And this is when you had to like send in the CDs and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I sent a couple songs in that, got returned, and I got ticked off. And I'm like, this is a scam, obviously. Right. But then years later, I was just kind of out of it for a while. Like I was writing songs, but I had a family and my life was kind of in turmoil. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And I was always like, I wonder if I could. Like, could I really do this? And in my brain, I was like, I think I could, but I had an opportunity to move to Nashville and I didn't do it. I was too scared. And I had a lot of opportunities. I was just too afraid to try. And finally, I just said, I want to give it 1 year. I just want to give it 1 year. And I'm going to put the same amount of effort into music as I do into going to NFL games, going to NBA games, going on vacation. Like, I have no problem spending money on these other things. But when it came to myself and my music career, I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I said, I'm going to give it 1 year. And that was, 15 years ago. Right. And in that 1 year, I made a list of all the people that had been helpful to me throughout my life musically. And I just reached out to them and I'm like, I want to try this. And overwhelmingly, people just opened their doors in their hearts and their everything to me, and they helped me. So Michael Anderson, and then I got some songwriting coaches, and I got reconnected with Taxi. And, I don't know, man. Like it just was one step after the next. Like my first song I sent into Taxi was an instrumental. It was reggaeton. I'd never even heard the term before. I went on YouTube and looked at it. I'm like, oh, I could, yeah, because I'm a drummer. Like I know how to make this. And I sent it in and I got a forward. And like 2 days later, I got a call from a publisher and I signed the reggaeton songs. And then I signed like 50 of my other songs, like full length songs. And I was like, yeah, I made it, man. This is it. Right. And like, I don't think I got one placement from any like I signed over my whole life to this guy. But you don't know what you don't know. And I learned that, and then by going to the Taxi rally, right, I kept with it. And then I was a successful members panel. And then I met Rob Shirelli at the advanced recording techniques class that he did. And like, these are all long stories that I'm condensing. And through that, I met Rob and we developed a friendship, and he mentored me and opened doors that I would never have been able to open. That he was the one that opened the door for me for the Grammy. So, back then you don't know that that's going to happen, 8 or 10, you don't do it for that. You do it because you want to connect with people relationally. And that will be how I'll end this story, is that my career changed when I stopped becoming the hustle guy that was like, I have what everybody needs. And as I was pitching my stuff in Nashville, I'm like, there's Sam Tenez, there's people that do what I do. There's Justin Morgan. There's a lot of people that do what I do. Like, I need to like find my place. If Sony has somebody like me, they would never sign me. If Daywin told me, they're like, we'd love to sign you, but we just signed Sam Tenez. And I was like, oh yeah, of course there's other people that are better than me. Like, what am I thinking? Right. So I just started to try to connect with people relationally, and just like, man, are these people that like I would have over at a cookout, and can they trust me, and can I trust them, and can I vibe with them? And when I focused on that, then the music stuff everything just changed significantly. That's my story.
No, that's a great story, man. Your journey is relatable in a lot of ways, and so you covered a lot. So I want to go back, but then go forward as well. So when you first got in, like when you first like had the ambition to go to Nashville or that opportunity, was your goal to write, to be a writer for other artists, or was your goal just to be an artist yourself? Or like what was that?
Yeah, the goal at the very beginning was to be a artist writer. You know, I wanted to be an artist writer, and I had like little crumbs of success, I would say. Like, you know, I mean, it sounds amazing, and I don't mean to diminish to be out at the NFL Players Inc. party in the Super Bowl in San Diego. Like, I mean, you know, you're like, the stage is massive, and it's like this, like there's all of these high flying people, but really, you know, it sounds better. It's like a resume thing that's cool, but it doesn't really translate to much in the music industry. You know what I mean? And so that was cool. I had written some like inspirational contemporary Christian songs. It was like this album, like the best worship song, praise songs of '99 or something, right? And it was on there, and I was like, great, right? And so like there was these little things that would happen here and there that made me think, yeah, I could still be an artist, until eventually I just aged out of it, right? And I'm like, I'm too old for this. I have a family. I can't keep it up. Like, I just want to write, man. I just want to write for other people and produce. And, you know, that's the life for me. So I think initially I started off with the idea of, yeah. And the other thing too, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but when I was 20 years old, I had, and this might sound crazy to some people, but I had a vision. Like there was and I think we all have like this, you know, vision of ourselves on a stage. But it was a recurring thing that was happening for me when I was in my parents' basement playing. And I felt like I was in a stadium singing. I actually could see the stage, and I could see the people. And there was like 3 decks of people. And I believed with all my heart that would come to pass. And in that moment, I thought, well, obviously I'm going to be famous. I mean, who the heck else sings in a stadium with their people singing their songs? Like, you're going to be so famous, right? And so I chased after that for like at least 10 years. And I did everything I could do to make it happen. And not only could I not make it happen, I never even got anywhere near it. And it never materialized until literally 25 years later. It actually did materialize when I was 45 years old. Through a series of, through Steve Block, through Taxi, Steve Block, through somebody that I coached in Phoenix, Arizona, led me to NRG Stadium, and standing on a stadium and having written the theme song for the ELCA mass gathering, and standing on that stadium in front of 36,000 people and looking out and seeing 3 decks of people and hearing them sing my song back. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I can't believe this. I couldn't believe when I walked in, because I didn't know what NRG Stadium was like. But when I walked in and I stood on the stage, I just sat down and I just started to cry. My wife took a picture of me, and I'm like, I don't know how to explain. Like, there's no way I could have orchestrated this thing that just happened right here. But it happened, right? And I'm not rich and famous, but it still happened. So, you know what I mean? When I took my own ego out of it, and my own like, yay, this is going to be so pro James, it always goes a lot better. And that's been a long journey for me.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man. That's so cool. Like, your vision came to pass. I think too, as writers and artists, engineers, producers, we do have a vision, but it kind of never really works out in the way that we intended, but it still comes to pass.
Yes.
So that was your story. Is basically the story for a lot of people, man. It's very, very, very just relatable, like across many boards.
Yeah, right on.
And so with the artist, kind of you aging out of the artist, which you still like. I think you mentioned your age. I was like, man, you look good for your age, bro. And you're not old. That sounds crazy, but you got a good regimen going on. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, here's my trick, bro. Lots of carbs. Okay. Very little exercise. sugar-free popsicles and Diet Dew. I don't know if we can market that, but you know.
Yeah. I need to be taking notes. This is good stuff. Where are my notes at?
No, that's what's up. So with the Grammy, so that's not you are our first Grammy Award winning guest. We've been doing this for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I remember your post on Facebook, and I'm like, man, that's just so cool. I didn't know the story until much later, but man, yeah, just share how that came to pass, man. Not everybody can say that they have a Grammy.
So yeah, it's emotional for me. So it goes back, also goes back to Taxi, right? It goes back to Rob Corelli, and my relationship with Rob took years to cultivate, because Rob is a seasoned vet who's originally from Boston, moved to LA, and Rob is like the most kind, loyal friend, probably friend that I have. Like, he's one of my best friends, and he's so caring. But he's been burned so many times, especially in the music industry. Like, he's not the kind of guy that will just open up his life and heart to you, right? I mean, that was a multi-year process of us talking about football, talking about our children, talking about our kids, going to see a football game. We went to see the Patriots versus Colts when Peyton Manning was playing Tom Brady. Like, we met out in Boston. Like, so we have a friendship that a lot of times when we talk about movies. We don't talk about music, right? So we've learned to trust each other throughout the years. And he called me a year and a half ago, and he asked me if I could help him. Which, again, that to me, that's just always that to me. Like, can I help you? like, I mean, anytime he'll send me a mix, or like when we work together, like, what do you think? Like, and he will, if I have suggestions, I'll give them. I'm always mindful of who I'm giving them to, and he'll listen. He'll take them. And again, that speaks to me. Here's a guy that has how many Grammys, how many hundreds of millions of records sold, right? And he's not too big to listen, to take advice, and from people that he trusts. Like, I don't know, that just speaks to me. That's a level of humility that I'm like, that has really impressed me or impacted me. But anyway, he called me, and he was in the middle of this project, and he asked if I could help, and I was like, yes, of course. And what he asked me to do, I said, honestly, that's not like, I don't feel super confident. Like, I'm just gonna, I'll do my best, and then you let me know if you like it, and if not, no problem, right? And that's the kind of relationship Rob and I have. Like, or I'll have with anybody. Some people will call me and say, hey, James, can you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is not my thing, but Andrew Jordan is great, or Terrell is great, or like, I'll just, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say yes to everything if it's not my wheelhouse. So he sent me the file, and as I listened to the files, it was, I instantly recognized it was Mav City and Brandon Lake. And at that time, Brandon Lake only had out, I think, Graves into Gardens, and he had one other song. But nobody knew that he was working with Mav City. So I went on Instagram and I looked, and I'm like, is there anything out about this? And that was a huge, just to pause that right there. Like, it was very, very important, because there's only a small handful of people in the world that knew that collaboration was happening in that moment. And had I gone on Instagram and been like, guys, you can't believe I'm working, Brandon Lake has teamed up with the Mav City, like, that might have gotten 100 likes, but that would have been it, man. I would have signed my own death warrant with Rob, and just, like, you know what I'm saying? So obviously I didn't do that. But as I'm listening to the files, like, I'm working on Brandon Lake's part, right? And I'm listening to Fear Is Not My Future, and I'm just overwhelmed. I mean, like, I live in Green Bay, man. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I cannot believe that I am sitting here listening to, like, I get to be a part of this. Are you kidding me? And as the song goes on, and the song is playing, the song is over 17 minutes, right? So it's a lot of work to get this song done. I hear Kirk Franklin, because this is a live recording, and I start getting emotional, because as a Christian, and I don't want to Like, I'm not going to go off on Christianese here, but as a Christian, Kirk Franklin was significant in me becoming a Christian. Like, it was as I was listening to Kirk Franklin music. So here's this full circle moment now. And I'm like, I don't, and Rob mixes all of Kirk's stuff, but that Kirk was involved with Brandon and Mav City. It's just, and I told my wife, I'm like, babe, you have to take my picture because like we can never tell anybody about this. And so we did. We got the job done, and you know, that was it. And it was great. And then it got nominated. It got for your consideration, which it was in there, and I had another song in there for there. And then it made the second round, which was good, and the other song didn't make the second round. And then when it came to the Grammy night, it was actually my daughter's birthday, and Maddie. And so Maddie was having her 21st birthday, and so we were bowling in the bowling alley in Green Bay. There's more than one, and we were watching the Grammys on my wife's phone, and it came up to the category, and we all gathered around, and they announced "Fear Is Not My Future," and we just like, we all raised our hands and we're like whooped out. We all started crying, and then we just continued bowling. I mean, then we went out for hibachi. You know what I mean? My wife's like, my husband just won a Grammy, and they're like, yeah, right. She's like, no, I'm serious. And it was just this surreal opportunity moment to be a part of something that I really didn't earn. I mean, other than I had a trusting relationship with Rob, and he knew that he could call me and trust me to do to help him, and then to also not broadcast it everywhere. And that's how it happened.
Wow. What an amazing story, man. And just to see how
it's incredible.
It was it's so cool that you got to experience it, not on the red carpet with the glitz and glamour. You with the people you love the most, the people who care about you the most, and you just having a chill night, bowling, hibachi. I mean, that's a win. Hibachi is great. Bowling's fun. So it's like, that's a win. And you won a Grammy? That's like an epic night. That's an epic night. So
and you know, like last year was an incredible year, because then the song that we had, "To Keep Your Eyes on Me," that I'd written 8 years ago with Casey Timmer, who wrote Kelsey Ballerini, and this other guy, Patrick Dodge, who's with Woody's label in Nashville. So the three of us wrote it 8 years ago, and I produced it, and we were like, yeah. And it sat on my hard drive until someone else pitched it to Catherine. She recorded it. She took it to #1 on the indie charts. But then, like, it was in the Hollywood Music Awards. It won Song of the Year. And then it was for the Josies in Nashville. I'm like, well, we got to go. So we went, and it didn't win. And I'm like, this is how the music industry is, right? Like, so you don't know. And now this year, the Josie nominations are out, and like, I mean, there's like, the nominations are like Songwriter of the Year that I'm up for, Producer of the Year, Vocalist of the Year in Pop, Album of the Year for Evergreen Song. Maddie's EP is up for EP. Like, it's just like this windfall of all of these things that happen, which is amazing. There's 75,000 submissions, right? Like, it's amazing. And yet there was an award show in Green Bay called the BAMMys or something. And I got a nomination for songwriter, but I didn't even make the top 3. I didn't even get to go to the show. I didn't even in Green Bay. And I'm like, that's it. That's the music industry right there. Like, sometimes it's like, yes. And sometimes you're like, I don't know.
Highs and lows, man. Right? A constant, like, if people, the ones that are watching, aspire to be in sync, aspire to pitch to artists, anything, there's going to be a constant ebb and flow of highs and lows, as James mentioned. Like, it's not all mountaintop. It is not all valleys either, but it's in between all the time, for years, for decades, right?
My thing is, like, learn to fall in love with the process. Like, I have fallen in love with the process of creativity in working a lyric so far and so far down. Like, once we get to melody stage and track, like, I mean, like, it could take forever, but like, I'm like, that's the best I can do. And then that's enough. Like, then I can put it out into the world and be good. Whereas before, I was writing and I'm like, I needed X amount of streams, or I needed it to be downloaded, or I needed sales for that validation. Now it's like, it's the process for me that gets me so excited. And it's watching other people win. It's teaching them the process and watching them win awards and them get placements. Like, I don't know, that's the best for me.
Kind of why we started. I mean, Andrew could speak more to it. That's kind of why we started this server or group, the Sinkhole. We had felt compelled to kind of give back with education, you know, all the stuff we learned from Taxi and just over the years and stuff. Yeah, so like it's cool when I get a placement, it's cool when Andrew gets a placement and Mark gets a placement, but it's cool to have somebody who was kind of new to Sync join our server and like say, oh man, we you know, because I think earlier this year the Tom V was on as a guest from Crucial, and she's ended up signing a few of the songs from our members here. So it's crazy. Like, so that brought us joy. That brought us like, man, we're doing our job, man. So
that's it.
You can relate as well. And so going back to the Grammy, because you kind of it's very interesting. I don't know if anybody caught it. So you won a Grammy based on a skill set that you felt that you were like you would say you're more of a writer, producer, and not an engineer, correct?
Yeah.
And so you just put out a new song, Bully Inside and stuff. So I want to kind of like segue into that, because this song, you can explain it a lot, you know, better than I can. This song is a kind of harping on the idea or unpacking that idea of, you know, imposter syndrome. And that's something we all struggle with, man. That's something that every writer, artist, producer, whatever struggles with, man. So can you just expound on that, man? Like, you won a Grammy on something that you didn't feel confident on, and like the highest honor in music, right? So that's just very interesting.
Yeah. So I have a gift of being able to discount any good thing faster than anybody else that I know. Like, anything positive that happens to me, I'm like, like I can find the in any of it. Like, I could get a forward, like that's just how it was. Like I would get a forward, and then I wouldn't get the call. I'd get the call, but I wouldn't get the placement. I'd get the sign, but then I wouldn't get placed. I get the placement, but like at every level of, or what we would think not even, I don't think levels. I think on the road, along the road, further down the road, I would find a way to be like, but it's not, you know what I mean? The Grammy, but I didn't write the song. I didn't write the song. I worked on the song, but I didn't write the song. Right. So, and my wife was like, stop. Like, it's insane. I know it's insane, even as it comes out of my mouth, but I don't know. It's a sickness. Like, it's, and I've come to learn, I thought it was just creative people that are insecure. I've come to learn that everybody's insecure. I'm just not afraid to say I'm insecure. And I feel like I don't have any right to do that. Like, I get to work on music. I get to help people. I don't it just feels like a privilege to me. So that helps fight against the imposter syndrome for me. But even when these things happen, I don't know, man, I can discount it so fast. So fast forward to the Bully. And I really want to just end with a point. Just don't let me forget about getting a direct message about the Bully, because it's such a important point about where music is today, like right now. So this is a song. So I coached Matt Glickstein and Karen Mitchell for a year or so, and then we formed this thing called the Evergreen Song Factory, which is us, mostly me singing and producing the songs, and then it's for Sync. It's like soul music for Sync, right? And so, so we did that, and then during this process, we talk about imposter and insecurity. We talk about it all the time, and I'm just, like, I feel it. We all feel it. So let's stop freaking pretending that we don't, and let's just be real about it. So we started working on this lyric, and I think maybe Karen brought it, and it was a year ago. And I can't remember what it was initially called. It was called something, maybe because someone bullying, and I was like, oh my God, right? And so this song went through so many iterations, so many versions to get where it ended up. And it was like, it had a lot of fluff, and it was just, I was like, cut the fat. just say the unvarnished, uncomfortable truth. Boom. And then then I went to demo the song, and the more I was in it, I'm like, I can't let this song go. Like, this is my song. Like, this is my life, man. This is what I want to say right now in the world. And I don't care. Like, I'm out of my old man. Like, I don't care. I just want to put it out there. Just there for no accolade or anything. I just want to put it out there. So I got the song done. The ref that I was kind of working off of was In My Blood from Shawn Mendes, because I just love the vibe and like I love the rawness of it. And it's however many years old now, but it still feels current to me. And so I wanted that same energy. So as I produced the track, the initial motif is actually a bass that runs through a lot of distortion and blah, blah, blah. And I spent a lot of times programming the drums and, doing everything else. And then I got it to where I wanted. Then I put the vocal down. And then there was a part, Nate was sitting right here in my studio. And there's a part in the second verse where when I sing the bullies inside of me, I was like, the bullies inside of me. And I just felt like a power surge just run through my veins like this, right? And normally I would put that part at the end, and I'm like, it has to stay right here. And Nate looked up at me like, are you okay, Dad? Right? And I got it. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't release music anymore, but I under my own name, but I'm gonna do it. And I put it out, and it just took on a life of its own. Like instantly, people started sharing their story, and they started sharing it like because the song, and this is the point I'm going to end with about the song. The messages that I was getting, Terrell, were people saying, "This is so encouraging. I love this. This is so uplifting." People would say, "This needs to be on Christian radio." I'm like, oh, that is so funny to me. There's no positive. There's no redemption. There's no like hope on the horizon. There's none of that. The song sits in this moment of there's a bully inside him. Like the negativity is coming from inside the house more than outside, right? And this is the hurdle. And I was kind of perplexed by it when I was getting these messages, but people over DM were pouring out their life stories about like struggling with mental health, struggling with suicidal ideations, feeling like an imposter. I mean, like highly accomplished people that are mental health people all over the country are sharing the song. And I'm getting all these messages. And here's what it told me. And this is the point that I want to leave you guys with on this point and your crew. The Nashville way to write music has these pivot points where you like, that you leave hope on the horizon, especially in Christian music. It's not a Christian song, it's a pop song. But like, there's always this glimmer of hope. And in Bully, it's not there. And I'm like, why is it that people find this song encouraging? Because they feel seen. Because it says what they feel. And it says it in such a direct way, it leaves no room for any other interpretation. And if you have a bully, you're like, oh my gosh, I am not alone. And when people understand that they are not alone, that feels encouraging. And so that flies right in the face against the Nashville method of we need to write songs like, a love song, like when we met, now we're engaged, now we're getting married, I got a divorce and I'm going to get remarried. Like, it's like a whole movie. And I'm like, no, we go, and I'm just bringing one little slice of time down, and I'm going to talk about that. And it's going to be hard, and we're going to say the truth, and we're just going to let it be out there without fixing it for people. There's no fix in the song, but by the fact that people felt seen and like understood when someone else says how you feel, that feels encouraging. And to me, that nugget right there changes everything about writing songs in the commercial marketplace for 2024, 2025 and beyond.
Man, that's very, very powerful. Very extremely powerful. So as you, Matt and Karen, are working on the song, you kind of you knew that this was yours. How do you, as a writer, know what songs to keep for yourself, what songs to use for sync, what songs to like? How do you like? Is it just the songs that speak to you? You want to hold closer, or I'm sure every song speaks to you, like in the sense, though, right?
Yep. Yeah. In a sense, I mean, so they all start off. There's a catalog. Like when I'm working on an album or an EP for an artist or for anybody, it's like, we need, like for Maddie's, like 5 songs. I ran taxi listings, right? I mean, I sent out through Global Songwriters, through my friends through Steve Block. Like I put it out to all the best writers that I know, and I mean, we had, I don't know, a lot of songs, 30 some songs. And when we first started off, I wrote every song. I'm like, it's my daughter. I'm going to write all the songs. And by the end, even though I was executive producer, I only had one solo write on the whole project. Because I'm like, what are the best songs? The best songs win for the artist, not, get the cut. So how do you know? I mean, I think being as objective as possible. But these days, it's more targeted, right? So if I'm going to write if it's a sync song, I know that I'm going to get out my emotion wheel pillow, right here, which I love to talk about and teach on. And we're going to drill down all the way into one emotion, and we're going to exploit that emotion. And I've just learned a lot about sync, up-tempo songs. I'd prefer to write an up-tempo song. I'd prefer to write about friendship more than just one-on-one love. I prefer to write, to the widest net that I can, that is gonna help the song get placed and get used. So there's a framework going into the songs, that it's like, okay, this is going to be an artist song. And, there's a lot of pitches, you guys know. I mean, all three of you guys know, like you get pitches and you're like, okay, I'm going to write a song for this pitch, or I'm going to be writing with this artist, where are they at in their life? You kind of develop a framework for, what are they going through right now? What are the kind of things, how do they talk? Right. And then what's the next step? I mean, most writers will write towards the last album, and you'll never get a cut writing towards the last album. They've already done that. What's the next thing to say? So I think having a framework that you're working off of, makes it easier.
Nah, that's good. Yeah, because it's not about me, but I started doing artist pitches about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
More to the Asian market, like Korea and Japan and stuff like that. So yeah, like when I'm writing a song for Korea, Japan, I kind of know that it's for that. Because sync, I just approach way, differently. So I know everybody has their own, process, but like I was just kind of, curious about yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, you guys have anything to add, Andrew, or Mark?
I was gonna ask. No, you're good. I was gonna ask James a little bit about the coaching that you do. Well, I mean, I met you through Terrell, and I got connected with a retreat that you do, and I immediately felt connected to you when we met, even over Zoom before we met in person, because I think your ability and your gifts that lend themselves to just coaching in general, encouraging people and helping them kind of come up to a place where maybe they didn't even know they could be, is, I think, it's just very, very apparent. Tell us about like how that has kind of developed in your own life, and maybe where that kind of is right now, what you're currently doing with that side of things.
For sure. Thank you. I never had any aspiration to do it whatsoever. I would go to taxi. And when I teach at conferences, whether it's Robbie's thing, Sink or Swim, or here or anywhere, I have the Nashville Community College have opportunity to teach on occasion. I want to lead with like transparency and vulnerability. Like I don't want to be like, hey, look how great I am. Like no, like okay, now we're in a whizzing contest. Like I don't know, like I'm probably gonna lose that anyway. I'm more like, okay, here's a million here's let me tell you about the failures. Let me tell you about the struggles. Let me tell you about the time that I wasted jacking around on trying to figure out what sound to use in Nexus, I spent days trying to figure out that rather than trying to write like a good melody or a good lyric or just vibing with somebody, like trying to be the guy in the room that was the guy rather than try to be like a good hang. You know what I mean? So these are all like practical relational things. So when I go to Taxi, like I generally share a lot of my losses. And like, I mean, some great stuff has happened, and every great thing that has happened has been because of others. By the way, every great thing I can attribute to others and team, everything. And there's something to that, right? And you guys know that because you're a team. So for me, then there's a certain segment of people that respond to that because they're like, oh, James is like one of us, right? Like he used to come to the rally as a member and he used to go to the thing as a thing. And so he understands. And I'm like, yes, exactly. We're all in this together. So my wife said to me, she's like, you should just put up a sign-up sheet and like you could coach people. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because we taught this class called SOS, Significance Other Space. And we talked about, like I talked about as a creative, how music is almost like the other woman. And like how, and for her, as somebody in a marriage with someone like me, like we have to find balance, right? And Andrew knows a lot about the plates and he teaches beautifully in that. It was so powerful. I'll never forget it. So anyway, so I thought it was ridiculous and I didn't do it. And I'm like, no, I said, they can just call me. They can just email me. I just tell them. And she's like, no, they want you to do one-on-one time. And I was like, whatever. So I let it go. We had a list of the 20 people and I'm like, I didn't do anything with it because that's who I am. I'm that guy. And then for not Good Friday, Black Friday, big difference. For Black Friday, I like came up with a graphic, 10 lessons for whatever amount of money. And I'm like, I just sent it out to the list. And I was like, I'll be shocked if one person signs up. And like within 5 minutes, it was like ding, 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 ding. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like part of it was like, I got to get my crap together. The other part was like, babe, you were so right. I'm sorry. Okay. My wife was right. I need to really listen to her. And that just started. And that was right before COVID, right? So normally at Taxi, I probably interface personally with 500 people one-on-one with all of the mentoring and stuff like that. And overwhelmingly, people are like, oh, yeah, I want to, right? And then I just ask people, just send me a message to such and such email. So right when we go from 500, we go down to 50. Like 50 people will do it. And then from that 50, there might be 5 that will stick with it. And from that 5, maybe 2 or 3. I mean, it's always 1% or less of people that will follow through. But those 1% are like, I mean, they're monster writers now, not because of me, but because they have that follow through. They have that dedication. And so when I tell them and teach them the things that I have been taught by unbelievable writers and friends and things that I've learned, it accelerates their journey so fast. So coaching for me is an opportunity to speak value into people. That's like, it doesn't matter where you live. I live in Green Bay. Like, what the frick? I mean, I love Green Bay. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, I have a wife. We have a blended family. I have a life outside of this. Like, you're not too old. You can live anywhere. There's the industry's big enough for everyone, male, female, young, old. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your background is. Like, what matters at the end of the day is relationship. In your relationship with yourself, in your creativity, in your craft, and other people, and do you show up? And I say that every year. I'm like, I can ask you what you're going to be doing on March 4th. You might not know, but if you ask me what I'm going to be doing, I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing what I do every day, right? You show up. So I think the process happened organically. And for me, watching being like coaching people into them realizing that they have this gift. And, I see some of my writers in the tribe and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like, I am so impressed with other people's creativity. To see them win is like a joy that it's almost like a parent, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the interesting connections between people in the music industry or trying to get into the music industry is we all seem to have this idea by default that we have to have it all together. We have to have all the answers. We have to have the perfect persona, have the artist profile picture, have all these things in place. And then you hear somebody like you come along that is able to kind of cut through all that and say, we're all dealing with these things. We all have, shortcomings. We all have struggles. We all feel like we're never going to be what we need to be and all these different things. And I think that is kind of the perfect antidote for a lot of the preconceived ideas that we can get sometimes, in those situations. And that's refreshing. I think that was one of the things that hit me the most by just kind of hearing you talk and share your story is there's so much kind of strength that comes from being able to accept the fact that you don't have to have it all together. You can learn, you can grow, you can just keep going down that road, that process, and keep moving forward.
And just to piggyback on that, Andrew, you're so right. But I would say, like, I could spend the next 10 years of my life trying to learn everything about mixing, or I could send my mix to Rob and let him do in 10 minutes what I can't do. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, I know what to do, but he's gifted. So when it just takes the pressure off, when I'm like, oh, I need a guitar part, I can send it to D-Wall. I need this, I can go to here. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It doesn't, the sun doesn't rise and fall on James Kocian. It's like, man, I get to do this and I get to work with these people. And then it's cyclical, right? Then it comes back. It comes back to me. I'm like, hey, James, I need a blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. I'm happy to help. I don't know. To me, I think the idea that I have to be a great writer, a great singer, a great artist, a great producer, great at social media, like, I mean, pick a lane, man. I mean, pick a lane. Just pick it. What's the thing? What's the thing that you get up for? And then, for me, part of my education is TED Talks, right? Like, I'm into Brene Brown, man, daring greatly. I'm into emotional intelligence. Like, to me, being able to communicate your emotions effectively is a part of being a mature, safe human, healthy, but it's part of being a great writer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, being able to connect with other artists and what they're going through. So, I mean, I read a lot of songwriting books and I have my favorite ones too, but I'm like, Brene Brown puts out a new podcast or something, and I'm like, fire me up. Like, I want to learn about the human mind and the heart and the human condition. If you look at where music is going, right? And you look at where it's headed, like, it's becoming more and more honest, right? Demi Lovato is talking about anxiety, and like, we're talking about mental health issues and struggles of people, and they're not ashamed to say it anymore. It only makes sense for us as writers. We need to lead that. Like, we need to be out on the front end of that. We don't, the artists will come to us to help them articulate what they're feeling. And you look at guys like Rick Rubin, right? And you make the artist feel great. You make them feel safe. And then you got a connection. Yeah.
I think it takes work to get to that place of being able to even be honest with yourself about all these things and stuff. And that's a process, that's something you got to work on yourself if you want to integrate that into your writing and allow that kind of authenticity and just raw, truth kind of material come out, so
and people are like, I mean, Taxi says it all. Like, when I scream for Taxi, right? I mean, it was like conversational lyrics, right? We need conversational lyrics. What the heck does that mean? Colloquial lyrics. It means what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So if you read your lyric out loud, does it sound like people having a conversation, or does it sound like it's written to a rhyme? Which is why especially when I start and I'm training my writers, I'm like, we don't use rhyming tools. I'm like, I'm going to take your crutch away, because if we're writing to the rhyme, you can tell, right? And so rather than write to the end rhyme, let's write the next logical thought. And then once it gets ordered logically in thought, then we can open up the thesaurus and we can find alternate words that'll probably be near rhymes, and it'll still sound authentic, right? So, I mean, just simple things like that. Whereas it's not rhyme driven, it's truth driven. So, you know, yeah, I mean, being able to write, and I'm not interested in people writing stories. I mean, whenever someone sends me something, my first question to them is, what's the story behind this? What's the truth? Where are you in this story? Well, I don't know. I'm just, I just thought I'd write about, parents that split up. How long have you were from divorce? No, my parents have been married for 60 years. Oh, I mean, maybe, right? But why not write the thing rather than the thing you don't? Yeah. Truth, man.
It's good.
That's good stuff. And your coaching, James, has evolved to, I guess, an annual retreat, even though there was only one so far. But yeah. So Andrew and I last fall had a chance to be a part of James's retreat, the Northwoods Songwriters Retreat in Wisconsin. What was the town called? Was it Ethelstain? It was like, we were in the middle of the woods. I thought James was going to have me set up, like a brother from Florida, woods of Wisconsin. That's just a new terrain for me, man. So but it was really fun, a really encouraging time. So James, just share about that, like the idea behind that, how that came about.
And
the one coming up as well.
Yeah, we do. Yep, September 12th through the 15th. If people want to, anybody that is here, part of your tribe, I would love to have them. We work in conjunction with other conferences and retreats. Like we're not competitive, we're collaborative, and they all have their own approach. Ours is immersive. And so the idea came as a suggestion from some of the people that I coach, and they're like, we should get together. And then COVID happened, and then I was like, oh, that ain't gonna happen. And then at the 2022 rally, when I was out there, some of the students were like, we have to do this retreat. And we changed locations to the camp. We go to Camp Daniel, which is a camp for people with intellectual disabilities. It's an incredible campground. And the idea behind it is real world songwriting, real world opportunities. Myself, last year we had Jim Thacker. He brought in some real sync opportunities. We brought Madison in from InStyle, Robbie Hancock. So Matt Vanderbilt, friends of mine that are like, that I know, that I trust, and that are experts in their own area. We asked everybody to come in with a topic to share as well, because, we don't want to be separated. If you're a pro or not a pro, like that can be very intimidating. And the truth is we're all in the same thing. We're just at different stops along the road. And so we want to break down those barriers, and we want to, we really want to be pro relationship where people are getting connected and they're learning to write with other people. So we did write with an artist. So we broke off into pods, and then we had write for a brief, and then we had write for an artist as well. So then we taught on how to do that, and then we broke off into groups, and then we did a lot, as you guys know, a lot of other activities like karaoke. We had Nashville night, and we dressed up, and Terrell did some things that live on video and infamy, and it was amazing. But we just feel it's relationship centric, right? And so and those relationships have paid massive dividends. I mean, many people have gotten significant movie placements and sync placements because of the retreat, and because of the connections that were made. So that to me is a byproduct. When we lead with relationship, the music things will flow out of that, because then we get the connections and we learn to trust each other. Then we're like, hey, I can count on this person when I need this thing, and boom, and they provide it, and then it works. So yeah, Northwoods, it's a Northwoods retreat. And so nwswretreat.com is our website. I'm pretty sure. I think it's got to be. I'm sure. Yeah, it is. And there's a little Facebook page too. But yeah, we're gearing up. We have some spots available, and again, we're capping it again this year. We're not looking to have 2,000 people there. We want to have the right people there, and by the right people, I mean people that are very serious about learning to take their next step, right? And people that are like hungry to learn and to grow. hopefully none of us get to a place where like, I'm there. Like when I watch how Rob works and when Ralph Murphy used to work and like the titans of the industry, Michael Laskow, right? I mean, they're constantly learning and growing and like they have a desire to learn more. And I'm like, the smartest people are always learning, so those are the kind of people that we want to have.
Well put, man. We're coming up on the hour mark, so it's got 2 last questions and we could wrap it up. Wow. So you shared a lot, man. You juggle like Andrew's analogy with the plates. You balance and you spin a lot of plates. You're a husband, you're a father, songwriter, engineer, coach. How do you balance it all, man? Like, do you just have a calendar and you stick close to it, or is it kind of like how do you juggle everything and do it well?
I'm working on that, bro. I'm horrible at that. I don't know. I'm so tired all the time. I need Andrew's help, man. Mark, help me. With songwriting, coaching, there's a stable of students, and most of them are on a either weekly or bi-weekly schedule, right? I block in time every day for writing and then producing, and I have a production calendar, right, which I'm sure you guys do as well. And so that stuff moves around as opportunities come in and things get shuffled around. But nothing is more important than than Nate. You guys know Nate. Nate is 16 now. We were down in Milwaukee today for a treatment. He has a version of muscular dystrophy. So I got back 45 minutes ago, and so nothing is more important than that, right? Together Forward is our vision. And what that means is, I could get to a destination on myself, maybe, but if I reach there and I'm standing there alone, then what is that, right? I think you said it well about the, what happened with the Grammy. I was there with my kids. I was there with my family, and we were in that moment together, and then we moved forward together. And to me, that's the way to move. I want to move with as many people. People have opened up the door for me, and they have allowed me, and they have Rob, like he created this space for me, and I feel indebted. I thank him. I love him, and I'll support him. I'll do whatever I can. But really now it's up to me to open the door for other people and say, man, come on in. And there's a table here for you. You don't have to do anything. Just come eat with us. Right. So some of it's science and some of it's finesse, I would say.
Science and finesse. So lastly, James, so going back, did you say how old you were when you had that vision of being on the stage?
You're 20.
Okay, so I thought so. So if you could go back in time, like, because you young, so maybe like a year or two ago to age 20, what would you tell yourself? Would you share some advice with yourself? Would you be like, hey, this vision will come to pass, or it'll look a little different? But yeah, like, what would James Kocian, the veteran, experienced songwriter, producer, tell his younger self?
That's a great question. I would say, man, what a big question. I would say, get help. That's what I would say. Get help. And in every context of what that means, get help in the music industry. I carried a sense that I needed to be the guy, right? And I put that mirage up of being the guy. And I couldn't do it. And, but I needed help in other ways in my life too, right? I mean, I struggled with integrity issues, and I was hurting. I had type 1 diabetes, and I was like, it was just a mess. Like my life was just a mess. And I thought that the music industry was a way for me to have a different identity, right? And things really started to change for me 10, 15 years ago when I worked really hard to merge all of who I was, all of the dad and this guy and the being in the church and being in recovery and being a writer and being like, I'm going to be the same guy everywhere, rather than I'm going to be LA James and then Nashville James. And the way to do that is to get help. is to have other people help you, to go to counseling, to like work on yourself. And I would have told myself, get help, develop relationships with people. And it's, you know, I think it's a sign of strength to ask for help and to admit your weakness and to lean on other people. And you're going to get hurt and you're going to get burned and people are going to let you down. And it's absolutely true. But, you know, people are going to rise up too, man. And people are going to like surprise you and they're going to show up for you and they're going to lean into you and you're going to feel overwhelmed by people helping you. And, you know, so it's not all unicorns and rainbows. I mean, there's some hard stuff with it. But man, like being with your people and your tribe and really celebrating each other in triumph and then sitting with each other in tragedy. I don't know, man. You can't do that on your own in isolation. And I didn't know that then. And it took me a long, hard road with a lot of failure, immense amount of failure to come to that realization. And I mean, that was just the level of my ego and my arrogance and my selfishness. It took me 20 years. I wish it hadn't taken that long, but the truth is it needed to, because that's the kind of guy that I was. Long answer, but get help is the short answer. TLDR, get help.
That's some wisdom, man. Like we a lot of the times think that we can, you know, I think the individual type culture that we live in here in the West, we can do it all on ourselves. We can do it all on our own. So to seek out help, like proactively seek help, is just not in our nature. So those are some wise words, man, because we need help in every aspect of our lives, right? So Thank you for sharing that. So in closing, man, I don't know if you're able to disclose, but like for you, man, is it more artist music? Do you got some more Grammy works that you can disclose? Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's not up to me, right? You know, the Bully's doing really well. Surprisingly, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff up for the Josies, which is the Independent Music Awards, and the I would expect the Hollywood Independent Music Awards as well. You know, the Grammys, you know, I don't know. I'm up for being a Grammy Pro, you know, got my nomination. You know, we'll see. You know, it takes a while to get through the process. So I don't know, maybe more of the same, really. I mean, to me, I love to be able to work on artist stuff, and then I love to be able to do the coaching, and then I love to be able to work on sync stuff. They're all such a different discipline, and they all take such a tremendous amount of dedication. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, especially for people that like are starting, because the further out you are, like the less refined you are, right? If you can learn to write an artist song, or a sync song, like there are different disciplines that you can use to transfer over to the other things, and vice versa. So, you know, more of the same, man, just more being present, savoring, the absorbing the wonderful things that are happening, not missing it. I'm a guy that tends to be a visionary, to look like way too far off in the future. And I'm not present a lot. You know what I mean? And my wife, thankfully, is amazing at that. Frustratingly, in years past, I'm like, come on. But, you know, she grabs my hand, and when the wind blows through the trees and she closes her eyes, and I'm like, we've heard this a million times. And I look at her face and she has her eyes closed and she has a smile on her face. And I'm like, man, like that's beautiful to me. And my son is in a wheelchair, right? And like, we go to Culver's, right? You guys know what Culver's is, right? Yeah. And we go to Culver's and he's like, this is the best day ever. Like, this is my favorite day ever. And I'm like, ever? Like, that's a long time, right? So that's just a lifestyle that I'm working on. You know, we didn't hear from Mark though. So I gotta at least hear his voice.
Yeah, because you don't really know Mark, right? I don't think you ever met
I'm the
Mark,
oddball
right?
out this time.
Yeah, you never met. Yeah, Mark is a great dude, man. Mark is like the tech guy, so his mindset is like making sure the audio is working, the visual. So he's not really vocal.
Yeah, I gotta keep everything running smooth.
Our episodes.
Background.
But he's yeah.
No, I've been loving everything you're saying. I'm like, been on the verge of tears a few times. Like, this is all hitting home big time.
Yeah, man. Thank you for doing all this. I love what you guys are doing. We're friends on Facebook, so I keep track of everything that you guys are doing. I'm totally in your corner. I thought it was amazing when you had Tanvi, right? Tom V.
Tom V, yeah. Tommy Patel. Yeah, that's our highest rated video so far. That's the highest viewed video.
Yeah, I was so excited for you guys, and you guys are incredible people, and I'm like in your corner all the way. So anything I can do to help you ever, please feel free to just let me know, and I'm happy to do it.
It's incredible.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. So yeah, Mark, you can go ahead and close it.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Any final questions from anyone?
Any
in the
final
audience?
thoughts, James? Yeah, there might be some Q&A, James. I don't know if people have questions. I don't know how many viewers we have.
I didn't see any questions, Roland.
Yeah, I didn't see any either.
I didn't see. But yeah, this is your chance to ask before we sign off.
Shout out to Mark real quick. If you haven't checked out his podcast, Creativity, Life, and Business. Yes. He just started that up. Yeah.
He just started his own podcast.
Yeah.
Andrew was my first guest, actually.
That's why I was promoting it, because I was the first guest. It was actually about me. It's good though. He's got some good stuff, some really good content, I think, coming out, and I'm looking forward to further episodes and stuff.
Cool, thanks.
I was listening at work earlier, actually, the episode. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of work.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I can't wait. I'm gonna definitely check that out.
Yeah,
right on.
You guys are doing great things, and like all of you guys. I mean, Mark, from seeing just what you're doing online. You guys are always welcome wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, at our house, at the retreat. Just come hang out, vibe, whatever project we're working on. You guys are always welcome around our table. So
right on. Very much appreciate that.
Thank you, James. For real. Thank you.
Cool. Well, I don't see any final questions, so why don't we go ahead and close out. Thank you again so much for being here, James. You left some amazing insight, amazing stories, and I hope a lot of people check this one out. So
yeah, definitely.
Right on. For anyone that's in StreamYard, I think some people will hang out afterwards. I probably got to take off shortly, but otherwise, thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next month with another event for the sinkhole. And yeah, just thanks again, James. Really appreciate this.
Thank you, James. Man. This is a great episode.
Take care, everybody.
See you.
See you, bro.